Ah, jeez. What is going on with this stuff here, man? Okay, I never had a problem with two people. Now all of a sudden it just went off air again. Okay, well, let's try this again. I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm probably gonna have to like contact YouTube or something because this is getting so stupid where it's like I can't even have guests anymore because it just off air. Just it's really ridiculous, guys. Jeez, man. I apologize. I'm trying to do this damn thing.
Oh snap!
Oh man, it's frustrating, man. It's totally frustrating. Uh-oh, and I can't hear Seek again. Okay, so hold on a sec.
No problem, dude.
And I wonder if it's because of that too. Uh-oh, and I can't hear. Let's see. Let me see something here. I'm mute. Okay, hold on, Seek. Hold on. So I'm trying to figure something out. Okay, why? Okay, now what the hell? Crap. Hold on a sec. Okay, what? Okay, okay. There's something weird that's going on with this. Do me a favor, Seek. Log out and click the link again. Please. There's something weird that's going on, and I'm thinking it's because how, like, when I have people. Okay, I wonder if. See, I still can't hear them. See, I'm wondering. This has to be the reason why. See, give me your email. Oh, wait. Can I hear you? Say something, see?
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so maybe this will be okay now because I think maybe, just maybe, the reason why the broadcast just cuts out is because I re-log back into it and I'm not the head of the broadcast anymore. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe that's the reason because that happened last week too, where I couldn't hear those guys and then I had to like log back in and then, yeah, the thing cut out. So maybe that's the reason. We'll see what happens. Anyways, we're back, guys. Cheers.
Yes.
God, man. I don't know what's going on with these technical difficulties, but because I had other people on here before and it was perfectly fine. But
I hate to say this now. I farted earlier and my farts release EMPs. So
that's what it is. See, it's because of Seek, man. He ate some Taco Bell tonight and just.
That's my mutant power.
Yeah, that's his mutant power. I believe that was a power of somebody on the what was it? What was it? Ben Stiller fake superhero movie.
Mystery Men.
Yes, I was like, I kept thinking Matchstick Man. I'm like, no, that's that Nicolas Cage movie, which people should watch. That's a great movie. But I was like, Watchmen, Matchman. Oh, geez. Yeah. I love
the Meshmen.
I couldn't think. I was like, who? What the fuck's that movie? Yeah.
They all wear mesh to battle.
Yes. Mystery Men. That's a fun.
I love that movie.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. I think it was Pee Wee Herman that had the fart power.
Yeah. The flashlighter or something.
Exactly. Okay, so what were we talking about before we got cut out? Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I guess we can start at the beginning too. The X-Men, Dark Phoenix.
Yes. We're talking about that. We're talking about the.
I'll give you a big sneak peek behind the curtain. Then, so I've actually helped out on 3 X-Men movies.
Wow.
Very small contribution. And I mean very small contributions. But I used to work at a comic store, Golden Apple Comics, and where John Singleton shopped all the time before he passed. So I knew him pretty well.
That's cool. Dang.
And Dwayne McDuffie also shopped there a lot before he passed. I had access to really cool people at that store, and they would come in and kind of be like, "Oh, this kid is neat. He's got like a walking encyclopedia of comic book knowledge, and he's like, not like a typical." Quiet nerd. Like he'll talk your head off. And so one day this guy came in and he was working on X-Men. He's working on the Wolverine.
Oh, okay.
He was just looking for material, so I helped him find stuff. And then he kept coming back and asking me questions and picking my brain. And then eventually we developed a part where we were emailing each other, and he would ask questions about things. So as a thank you for giving him feedback on the Wolverine, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. He sent me on Days of Future Past. He sent me a signed Hugh Jackman.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like, "Who's your favorite X-Men?" I was like, "Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. He's amazing, and I love that character." And he was like, and at that time, I had just got out of my aneurysm, so the lack of memories made me even connect to Wolverine even more. And so he was like, "Hey, I'll get you. I'll go talk to Hugh and get you a signed picture." And Hugh Jackman only signs autographs on the last day of filming. Just a piece of info for you guys.
Wow. I mean,
and so they stacked a bunch of pictures, and he signed them out.
That's pretty awesome, man. Jeez. I swear you have sometimes when you tell me stories about stuff that you've done and I'm like, man, you've put your fingertips in many different little facets of life kind of thing. I mean, I know you work for Lego right now still, right?
I work for Lego, right?
Yeah. And then you get these invites. I mean, that's how we, came to know each other. Is you invited me to the Justice League world premiere, which I did not make. I saw you in the crowd though.
Yeah.
Green Lantern stuff, but sadly, I was already at the press screening on the lot, and I didn't quite make it. It would have been pretty cool to even though, I mean, we could talk about that movie for days, but
sure.
Especially just being in that auditorium when some of those scenes just play out, and you just kind of go, "Where's Cavill? What is he thinking about this right now?"
Yeah. That was for me. That's why I wanted to invite you, because it was weird. I was just a guy who watched your show.
Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of I'm not, I know, unlike a lot of your fans and stuff, I'm actually not a big fan of Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
But I still like listening to you talk about it because you have a passion for it the way I have a passion for the things I love.
Yeah.
And that's what made me like your channel. And I was like, well, if I'm going and I'm not a huge fan, it felt like a jip. Like I was like, I need to bring a real fan with me. And that's all I cared about. I was like, this guy needs to be face to face with Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. And that's why I invited you. I was like, and so that's why I was bummed for you that I was like, oh, he's not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, that's okay.
I wanted to share that with a fan, so that way I didn't feel like a shitty person.
I get it. And I appreciated that. I mean, I thought that was really awesome when I got, people sending me that video. Hey man, this guy is inviting you. And it was awesome. But I mean, it's whatever. I didn't make it, but still, we've been, friends since then. We've talked many times, and, I'm totally down. I just said down because I saw you put I'm down right there. I just totally bringing but I enjoy watching your videos because you're very knowledgeable about this stuff. And, that's why I wanted to get you on here. I know last week you wanted to talk Dark Phoenix, but I just, after having that debate, I was like, I'm exhausted, man. Yeah, it was so I was like, we'll do it next week. When it came to Dark Phoenix though, I don't know. See, I always tell people, and I've been saying this, and I've been telling people in reality life, is Days of Future Past wrapped up this franchise in a bow. It really did, in a nice, beautiful way, I thought. Days of Future Past is one of my favorites all the X-Men movies. And then you got Logan, which is just a swan song for Jackman and Stewart. I thought that was, I watched both of them last weekend, and I'm like, this is where it all really just ended. This is the end game. Days of Future Past was the end game, then. I don't know what you feel about that.
I mean, yes, but what I like is that we have the option to call that the end game. Because you don't get to you don't know when you get to say goodbye to stuff.
True.
And that's why I liked Logan a lot too, was because Hugh Jackman was like, this is us saying goodbye,
And Stewart. I mean, it was both of their goodbyes. Yeah.
And you don't get that option. So it's it's nice now. I don't mind that it went 2 more movies past its what we would consider its expiration date, because at least we get to choose which movie we want to end on.
It also helps too that Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix are technically prequels. So in the timeline, they aren't the last movies.
True.
Yeah. So that's what I like about that.
Right. So you can, I mean, it's one of those franchises where you can have your cake and eat it too if you want. So it's funny because I do the Venom vlog, and that's kind of what I'm known for. But I actually wanted to start back when I was starting the Venom vlog, I wanted to do an X-Men show instead. But because of I didn't sign anything for Dark Phoenix, but for Days of Future Past and the Wolverine and stuff like that, and Apocalypse, because I have an Apocalypse tattoo. When the guy found out I was an Apocalypse fan, he was like, "Oh, I gotta talk to you when we make that movie." And I'm like, sure, cool. Like, hopefully it's good.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
yeah, but for me, it's like I actually couldn't because of things I signed. I couldn't make an X-Men show because I was too afraid I would slip.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I like to keep my word when I give people my word. So like I'm just old school like that. My grandpa would come back from the grave and kick my ass if I broke my word.
That's
so
fine.
so with Dark Phoenix, I was like, all right, I didn't sign anything, but I'll still wait until the movie comes out before I talk about it openly.
Yeah.
And like I said, it felt like Simon Kinberg in that first cut was just trying to make something that paralleled the first X-Men movie. He wanted something that was very slow and dramatic, and it took its time building. And I could tell you right now, because I see people going online and they're doing this, like, release the Kinberg cut, and he was gypped, and I hear that from a lot of people who don't understand how movies are made, and and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, because you can always educate yourself. But as someone who's been on movie sets, multiple movie sets, and seen movies made and seen scripts turn into bad movies, like good scripts turn into bad movies and vice versa, when someone writes and directs something, ultimately they have to take it on the chin and say it's my fault.
Yeah.
I think I learned that lesson from Joel Schumacher. Everyone can hate Batman and Robin till they're blue in the face, but I have tremendous respect for that guy because after he made that movie, he came out and said, even on the Blu-ray commentary and the DVD commentary, he says, when you direct a movie, if a movie's bad, it's the director's fault. If a movie's good, it's everybody's fault.
It's yeah.
And I thought that was tremendously classy to say, and I think it's true because movies are made by hundreds of people, and so it's hard to say, like, if a movie sucks, he says, I'm the director, blame me. He's like, because the script was good, I had good actors, but I just had this vision for the movie that just didn't work. And Simon Kinberg wrote, produced, and directed this movie, and it was nice to see him come out today and say, I take full blame. He's like, yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Like, he never really, like, especially a weekend after the release, he's coming out and talking about it. You don't really see that often. And he's going, yeah, just blame me. It's on me. I fucked up, and it's, you rarely see that. You don't hear from a director for like a while, at least until the movie's out of theaters, but this is a week after and he's like, sorry.
Right. Yeah, and he admits it. And he even, his quote that he said that, because if you watch my 40-minute talk where I talk about the movie, I kind of dog him a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? I even said, I go, he's the definition of failing upward in Hollywood. And I was not very
Fantastic Four, right?
Right. Like I don't have a tremendous amount of respect for the guy's work, his body of work.
I always said I was worried. I'm like, I don't know about Kinberg actually taking the fucking director's chair. I was like, I don't know.
But he did an adequate job, but what I care about more at the end was that he owns up to it. He took it on the chin and said, you know what? I wrote it, I directed it, I could have done anything. He's like, but the most important thing was I didn't connect with what probably a lot of audience members wanted to see with this final movie. Yeah. And that to me made me go, you know what, Simon Kinberg, whatever movie or project you work on next, I will be the first person to see it because you would earn my respect for admitting your faults and wanting to learn from them. Just like Joel Schumacher did. And then after Batman and Robin, he made 8mm, which is one of the darkest detective stories ever.
Was it?
Yeah.
He was like, you know what? Fuck this like superhero, bright color shit. I'm gonna make a dark ass movie. Yeah, that movie. I think I've only seen it once, but man, disturbing.
Yeah.
And then he's made. I think Phone Booth is a classic. I think that movie is fantastic. Right. I love movies that take place in real time and has the main character in a fucking spot, backed into a corner, and it's all real time. And that's what Phone Booth is. It's just Colin Farrell in a fucking phone booth. Yeah. And he's having to deal with Kiefer Sutherland and his craziness. And that's a fantastic movie, in my opinion.
I love it. I'm a Joel Schumacher fan all the way back to Lost.
Falling Down? Oh.
Well, Falling Down and Lost Boys.
Oh, Lost Boys, of course, too. Yeah.
I love that one, too. But yeah, Falling Down, big time.
Yeah, Falling Down, man. That's just one of those. Man, well, that opening scene where Douglas is just in his car in LA, stuck in traffic, and the way that Schumacher just grasped that, I get uneasy because obviously, we live in that area. Yes. And to be stuck in traffic on a hot day, man, did he capture that right there? Even though it takes place in like the early 90s before, any of us were like learn how to drive or anything. It's
Sure.
just, it really just captures it. And you go, fuck, I probably would have just walked out of my car too.
Right.
It's so, yeah, that movie, man, I haven't seen that movie in a bit, but yeah, I forgot that he did Lost Boys as well.
It's like when it comes to making movies, it's like, and you know this too, it's like if you're going to make a big budget movie that costs $200 million that the studio doesn't even pay for all the way, they have to get investors, they have to get other people's money involved.
Yep.
They don't just go, here's $200 million to make a movie,
No.
and then give another $200 million to market it. They have to scrounge that money up, and then those people who invest in it, they need to make sure they get their money back. So of course, like, you're never going to make a movie on that level without studio interference. And some directors are just they're good at picking their battles.
Yeah.
And so because they can pick their battles, they come out with a decent product. Whereas other people who want to fight for a vision or want to fight for like Josh Trank or something, they'll get dismissed and then they'll get smeared by the studio because the studio doesn't want to look bad. So they're going to say Josh Trank trashed a house and did all these things. And you're like, well, did he? Like, I don't know. It's like, who benefits from that story? Fox does. So they're like, hey, if we have a rogue director and put that out in the press, maybe people will still give our movie a chance. So you have to think about where information comes from, and you have to really use your brain when you're ingesting stuff. And that's why I like your channel, because unlike what that long talk you had with that other gentleman, you'll go, hey, look, here's the reality of something as far as I know it to be. And that's all we can do on our channels. We can just go like, hey, this is the information I got. Like, and I have contacts at Warner Brothers too. And they'll tell me stuff and I keep my mouth shut because I'm like, hey, I don't make a lot of DC stuff. If I did, I would probably be more like your channel where I would fight for these things that you fight for, but I would also be realistic because I do that with the Venom show. I try to temper expectations. It's like, don't hype yourself up because the fall hurt so bad.
Oh, exactly.
And it can take the fight out of you. So if you temper your expectations, you'll fight longer. So I like that about your show, and it's integrity, and it made me want to do that on my show. So
exactly, integrity, and that's what I was trying to explain to Mr. Ashley. It's like he wants me to not, if there's negative stuff, don't talk about it. Hey, Jay Oliva, he's not talking about that. Clay Enos, they're not saying don't get. But I'm like,
you're under contract. Like, yes. They can't say that stuff.
Exactly. And then all I'm trying to tell you is, like, when people are going, oh my God, is Snyder going to be at Comic-Con? Are they going to announce the Snyder Con at Comic-Con? I'm going, whoa, guys, don't get too excited. I'm hearing otherwise. Please don't overexcite yourself. And then when that happens, all of a sudden everybody gets disappointed and they start fighting with each other.
It's true. I mean, it's like, Snyder likes getting you guys riled up because it means a lot to him that you guys support him so much.
Yep.
So he's just like, hey, these are my fans. They support me. I don't have a voice in this scenario, so they're kind of my voice. So he will do things that like amp people up because he wants that noise to be there because he benefits in a lot of ways from getting his cut out there. But it also sucks at the end of the day because his movie, let's say I think we're probably more likely going to get one day when his contract's up, we'll get like a biography of like his story in a book, which would be awesome. And then what he should do is take his script that he did with Chris Terrio and those guys, and they should make a graphic novel out of it.
That's what I've been saying. I've been saying that 5-part story for Superman should get Jim Lee to fucking illustrate it and just put out a whole series.
I agree. 5 graphic novels.
Yeah, because Jim Lee, he worked with Snyder. He's done storyboards and little drawings and stuff that I've
even get Jay Oliva to draw it.
Yes, or and then it could be eventually turned into an animated feature. With Jay. Yeah, am I saying his name right? Oliva or Oliva? Is it?
I think it's both. I don't know. I actually don't know. So.
Tomato.
Yeah,
but I mean. And that's what sucks. I mean, I love that you're explaining stuff like that too, like what it takes for a movie to getting the investors and money. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to hand you money. And that's what I've been trying to say about the Snyder Cut, because a lot of people just assume that, it could just get released. Like Snyder says it's done and this, that, and this. And I'm going, well, no, it's not fully done. And they still have to invest money in it. And it's not like Warner Brothers just going to fork over $30 million. Like, here, finish the movie. It would take more than that. And who knows when it's going to happen?
let me tell you right now, as someone who's seen, like in this example, we're talking about Dark Phoenix, an early cut of a movie.
Yeah.
If you released the cut of Dark Phoenix I saw last year, where they, because everyone, I see it is funny because I know when reports are false because I've seen the movie, and then I also see people jump on it like it's true. Like I saw the movie too, and that's all true, and I'm like, they never once said that they were scrolls in the original cut. Now maybe that was no. Maybe that was written in the screenplay before they started filming. Maybe Marvel came to them and said, "Hey, you can't call them scrolls now." In the original cut, they had no name. Jessica Chastain's character had no name. No one addresses her as Vuk at all in that first cut I saw. That was even one of my comments was, "What's her name? Like she's such a flat villain. She doesn't even have a name." And it's not like, and I earlier talked about Brandon Lee. That I love The Crow. That movie had the villain had no name, but they use that as a joke because at the end in the credits it says Michael Wincott plays the man.
The man.
Yeah, the man. And it's like, all right, he didn't have a name, but he's called the man. They
it's
didn't
kind of like in Fight Club, like Edward Norton was his character was called the narrator.
The narrator, right? Right. So it's like, so if you released that version of Dark Phoenix, because everyone's like, release the Kinberg cut, whatever. It wasn't finished. It wasn't finished. The CGI was definitely not finished to the point where everyone says that the ending took place in space, like Captain Marvel. And I'm like, I don't remember that. And if it did, the fill-in CGI must have been so bad I didn't know what was going on. Wow. Because I just remember the UN battle.
Yeah, because that's what Ty Sheridan said.
And I think a very brief moment at the end of that battle, maybe she went up to space, but I couldn't tell because the effects are so bad. So I would imagine that even though we've seen a lot of finished cut stuff from Snyder's cut, there are probably a lot of scenes like that too, that don't have the full audio mixed in, that don't have the full sound effects, that don't have the music cued in, and that takes money to do. So if you released the Dark Phoenix version I saw last year as the Kinberg cut on a Blu-ray for $30 and people bought it, I think a lot of people, like the average person, would be pissed off that they spent $30. And so you really do either need it finished or you need to release it in a digital way so that they don't have to print Blu-rays and covers and keep the costs low on it, and only fans will buy it, you know?
Well, yeah, and then, I mean, I do like the idea of like, hey, just release Snyder's Cut the way it is right now. It's fine. Put it on the DC Universe streaming. And I'm like, okay, that would be okay because then you know that actual fans that want to see it will watch it, will subscribe, and will enjoy it. But yeah, but you're absolutely correct. If they were actually to release an unfinished cut on Blu-ray or whatever, that's not good for the general public. It needs to be finished, polished, and something that's watchable.
Right. Or release like the full movie and then a second disc have that version on it, so people aren't buying it, you know,
that'd be worth it.
So that the masses aren't buying it for that second disc. Because that's the other thing. I know us as fans, we get so caught up in our bubble, we completely forget about the masses.
Exactly.
And that's how movies make $1 billion, is when the masses go. So like Venom, I love that because like everyone who's a comic fan was shitting on me for doing a Venom show. They were just like, they're like, dude, Venom's gonna bomb. It doesn't have Spider-Man. It's not MCU. It's gonna bomb. When that movie kept climbing and it hit 850 million, I was just like, eat it.
Yeah.
I was like, because the masses came and saved that movie. It was fun for mass audiences.
It definitely was. And I mean, when it comes to Venom, I just hope they kind of just, you know, take some chances with the sequel.
Sure.
I don't know what you've heard about the sequel. Have you heard anything yet?
The stuff I heard, I don't talk about.
Okay.
But they're still looking. They're still trying to pin down a director right now. So until that happens, anything I heard doesn't mean shit because they could come in and change anything.
Oh, of course, that's the way it always is. And I don't know. It's just like when it comes to Venom, like, I mean, we've talked about it. I didn't enjoy it like other people did. I thought like, man, they were trying to make something hokey and just, you know, almost MCU-ish at points where I was like, really, you're just going to accept that? A Pomeranian Venom? You're going to accept all that weird, quirky shit? But the stuff I loved the most was Tom Hardy and Venom, you know, and the symbiote. That was perfect. And then even with Woody Harrelson's little carnage at the end, it was like, oh, good God.
The scene I came up with Carnage at the end that I wish they did instead, because obviously the wig, everyone commented on the wig.
Yeah, like Carrot Top.
What I would have done is I would have had when Eddie's coming in, because I think Cletus had like bloody nails. He was like scraping or something on the, like etching his name or something. I would have had him pulling his hair out.
Ooh.
And then that way you can explain why he's bald in the next movie.
Oh, see?
He's just cutting his hair out. So the next movie, he's just bald with scars on his head.
And that's an actual disability that people have, where they literally will pull their hair out because they're like, oh, this hair is not right. It's not right. I gotta get it out.
Right.
Man. See, this is, I mean, it's so funny. Like, and talking to you and talking to other people, when we just go over ideas, it's like, why aren't these people? These people need to listen to us.
Well, trust me, I've been in a room with these people.
You have, yeah.
And I can say full out, you could have the best idea in the world, and you can back it up with, hey, well, this would work this, and this helps balance this scene out, and this helps the character evolve in this way. You could have all the explanations to back up your idea, and some executive will come in and go, no, we're going to do this because some other movie did it. And you're just like, oh, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. And then when you tell them that, they double down on it. They go, oh, then we're doing it twice. And you're like, what the fuck?
Like, you think that they would learn after, many times where it doesn't work that way,
Yeah, but they don't see it. Like, you're also talking about people who never admit failure.
Like, that's another thing too with the Snyder Cut. It's like, and I think even with this new article that came out that I when I did my normal podcast that I posted earlier today for The Ringer, that a writer decided, hey, I'm going to talk about the Snyder Cut, talk about the movement, talk to people within it. There was mentions in there from quotes saying like, yeah, you're talking about a studio, you're talking about egos. They don't want to admit that they fucked up. If they were to release Snyder's Cut fully finished and people were like, oh my God, that was awesome. They don't want to hear that. Right. They don't want to hear that. Oh, what was Warner Brothers thinking? And that's another thing that I always tell people too. It's like, it took less than 30 years, whatever the hell it took for the Donner Cut.
Right.
It might take that long for the Snyder Cut. Maybe not as long, but it's so fresh still. We're only a year and a half away. I mean, Justice League 2 was supposed to be released today, which is crazy to think about. Like, wow, they actually set the date for Justice League 2 today.
I saw you about that.
No, it was going to go, Men in Black and Shaft. Ooh, tough competition. Jesus Christ.
Those movies probably would have backed out of that spot, actually.
Oh, yeah. They definitely would have. I just made the joke because Men in Black was so awful and Shaft looks stupid too. But if they were to release the cut this year, I mean, it's just so fresh. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. And of course, people will spin my words saying like, oh yeah, he's just saying lose hope. No, it's just a studio is not going to want their egos damaged like that. And they even talk about like the head people, they're the head people that are making the decisions. They want to keep their jobs.
Sure.
If all of a sudden they release a different cut of the movie, they're going to look like stupid. So, I mean, obviously Warner Brothers is going through a lot of changes. We've heard it, and more is coming, guys, too, by the way. Everybody listening? Yeah, who knows? I don't know how long Toby Emmerich's going to be there, but mind you, just stuff I've heard, he's probably going to be one of the next ones that's going to go out. So, but a lot of these head guys are losing their position. So it's going to take a whole new staff and a whole new group of people to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should release the Snyder Cut, but that could be 5 years from now. It's
it'd be really great, and I would love to see you be a big part of this. Actually, if I could put this idea in your head and maybe inspire something. Okay. I was really good friends with John Schnepp before he passed away, and he worked on. I had him my first Comic-Con panel that I hosted. At one point I wanted to create a Superman story for Warner Brothers that raised awareness for brain aneurysm research, and the lady who was in charge back then, she wrote me an email personally and said, hey, I appreciate your efforts. You reached out to a lot of us. I went out and got like 100 artists each to draw one page of the comic. And it was going to be a different artist on every page telling one story. And it was about Superman dealing with somebody with a brain aneurysm. So their perceptions were changing every page. So everything to explain the difference in art change. But it was to raise awareness for this cause. Yeah. They politely turned me down because at that point they were doing the Horn of Africa or something like that, and it was like Heroes for Change or something, and they were using the Justice League doing New 52. So they said no, we can't do it. So I created Soulstar, which is my Japanese version of Superman, and I just made Soulstar a comic book, and we got 150 artists, and we're set a goal Guinness Book of World Records for most artists on a comic book, and we still raised some awareness for it, not as much as we would have with Superman. but so I had John on my panel at Comic-Con, and I was like, hey, you're making this Superman Lives movie, and I was deeply fascinated with Tim Burton's take on Superman.
Oh yeah,
I followed that movie throughout high school when they were back when.
Oh yeah, dude, I saw some of that stuff, and I was like, bring it, Tim Burton. Do this.
I was like, Brainiac, Tim Burton, Kevin Smith, like,
it was almost too perfect. And I'm like, Nicolas Cage? What? That sounds ridiculous, but I love Nicolas Cage.
I do too, man. And so I was all for it. So when John Schnepp told me he was making that documentary, I was blown away. And I think he even had plans to do other documentaries on movies that were never made, as like a TV show series before he passed. So what I'm saying is, if I could channel some of that passion that John had and Superman passion, especially into you, at some point you need to contact somebody and find out when those contracts lapse, and you need to make a documentary about the Snyder cuts and actually interview Jay Oliva, interview Zack Snyder, and interview these guys, look at storyboards and be like, here's the movie that could have been, the way John Schnepp did with the Superman Live story. And I think I think that's your next step in this fandom, I think.
Well, Mr. Seek, don't think that that's not brewing up.
Okay.
I've been thinking about this for a while, and I've been talking with other people. And also, cheers to Mr. Nicodemus, 1984. Thanks for the donation. Appreciate it. But yes, no, I've been talking with other people, and trust me, we've been trying to all the information we've gotten so far, we're trying to put it aside, have a folder for it. Oh no. It's in the works. Like, I've talked to other people, and we would just want to be like, wouldn't it be great to get a documentary about what the fuck happened with this Justice League movie?
Right.
And I definitely want to do that. And like I said, I was like, man, wouldn't it be great just to interview Zack Snyder, talk about it? I mean, obviously, like you said, when the NDAs are finally lifted and everything's clear, obviously they can't really do much now. And we're already trying to do that now. I mean, obviously, probably who I'm talking about. I mean, Mr. Stephen Colbert, he interviewed Mick Kinless, whatever the hell, the guy who played Ares in Justice League. He also interviewed somebody I can't say who he interviewed. And then my contact, who, and I've said it many times, he's not a Warner Brothers guy. He's somebody who's worked with Snyder directly, who contacted me, and then just getting his input and everything that he's told me. I haven't said everything that he's told me too, by the way, because it's like, there's been times where he'll go like, keep this to yourself.
Right.
We'll talk about it. And he's sent me shit too. And I'm like, oh shit, I would love to put it out there, but I can't, because he's just going, hey, here's something you might like, but keep it to yourself. So don't worry, man. It's already in there.
Well, it's good to hear that you guys are already thinking on that level. And if it's a collaboration between multiple people, that's even better.
Yes. Oh yeah. I couldn't do this by myself. No fucking way. It's such a big story.
Right.
And when all this shit started, and when I talked to my guy and I vetted him after a month and being like, oh wait, you are legit. How about that? I thought about that. I was like, man, wouldn't it be great to do like some kind of documentary, kind of like Schnepp's, because I really enjoyed that documentary of Superman. It was so well done. And it was so fascinating because I remember, just like you, being so like going, oh my God, they're going to do a Superman movie with like this? Tim Burton? Yes, Tim Burton, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage doesn't look like Superman. What the fuck? It was just, I just remember being so like, oh my God, this could be a pleasurable disaster, which probably would have been. Yeah, but it probably would have been a classic and unique Superman story for sure. Yeah. But when it comes to the Snyder Cut, I definitely want to do that. And I'm 100% certain that Jay Oliva and Snyder and all these guys, the stunt guys, Clay Enos, they would be 100% open to talk about what happened. Well, as long as everything's in the clear, they won't get in trouble.
I should tell you. So when I was I think I was like 16 or 17, maybe I was 16. So the first time, that's why I love watching you and like talk about the Snyder Cut and this stuff, because it's like, again, I don't have the passion you do for that cut, but hearing you talk about it is great, because it reminds me, when I was 16, I used to always talk about, I didn't word it as such, but I always wanted the Tim Pope cut of The Crow 2, City of Angels, because I actually saw the Tim Pope cut before it went out in the theaters, and it was the highlight of like my youth, because I was the biggest Crow fan on the planet, probably. I think I talked to James O'Barr like probably like 50 times at conventions, and I loved Brandon Lee. I was such a big fan of his. And I loved his dad, Bruce Lee, even more, like when I was a kid. So when The Crow 2, that was the first movie I saw an original cut of and a theatrical cut. And the theatrical cut was a butchering of that movie, because The Crow 2 actually was like a 2-hour drama that had a really deep ending, like a really deep, meaningful ending that was totally above what you would think a Crow movie would have had. Especially coming off the first one, you're like, well, that was a good emotional thing, but a lot of that emotion does come from it being Brandon's last performance. Whereas the second one was like really good performances from everybody with a great dramatic twist to it that was a slow burn, but when it did action, it did it really well. And then they chopped it all down. Harvey Weinstein cut like 40 minutes off the cut of the movie and then had a new director come in and completely change the ending. And it was so funny because just like 3 months ago, I was at Lego, or 2 months ago, and this woman comes in and she had a jacket on. It had a crow. It said Crow City of Angels. And I go, hey, I recognize that jacket. Did you work on the second Crow movie? And she goes, I did. And she goes, how do you know this jacket? And I go, I know everything there is to know about the second Crow movie. And I said, I've looked up interviews. I've talked to people who worked on it. I said, what did you do on it? She was like, I was second AD. And I was like, or something along those lines. And I was like, get out of here. So I said, what happened? Like, in your words, what happened to Tim Pope? And she said, Harvey Weinstein saw a cut of the movie. We did a screening. He hated it. He thought it was too long, too boring. And then he chopped 40 minutes out, had a new director come in, shoot a whole new ending with like $2 million for special effects. So the special effects were terrible for the ending of the movie. And that was the first time I saw how Hollywood worked. And it was at 16. Wow. I was at 16 years old, and I still wanted to get into movie making after that.
Even though,
so
I think it would change, you know.
But. Yeah, I feel you guys. I do. I feel the passion, and I feel that want for knowledge of what it could have been, because it could have been something special, at least to you guys.
And it's just crazy how, you know, and I'm talking to you like I said, you know, being the fact that I keep getting my voice out there and I keep getting, you know, more eyes on my videos and stuff. I get contacts from people, you know, and I just get people that work within the business just talking to me like, hey, this is what happens. This is what happens, you know, and I just recently learned about like Final Cut Authority or whatever that every movie has, that there's one person that has Final Cut Authority on a lot of movies, like Kevin Feige, MCU, he gets the Final Cut Authority. He gets to be like, hey, you need to change this, even if the director doesn't want to. I actually heard that J.J. Abrams had it for Force Awakens, and that's always nice when the director has that.
For sure.
And then so that just shows you that, oh, Abrams, the Force Awakens, that was exactly what he wanted, 100%.
Right.
And I guess maybe he'll probably have that with Rise of Skywalker as well, so that'll be good. But you know, when it came to Snyder, you know, he didn't have Final Cut Authority, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that I've been told about that I won't say here.
Sure.
I'm just trying to get the info, but there were some really weird, like, what the hell, like names that were thrown out that I was told that had Final Cut Authority and then didn't, and then it's a lot of fuckery that happened, and I know Jeff Johns had a hand in it too, which is very weird because, you know, you don't want to believe that Jeff Johns, who's written some of the best DC comic book stories, for him to be like, no, you don't know, we're not doing that, you know, and then just being, you know, basically almost backstabbing Snyder and stuff like that. It's interesting, but, you know, you just got to gather it all. You just got to gather all the information.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, everyone there is just trying to do their job, right?
They are.
And unfortunately, that causes a lot of conflict, you know, especially in a creative environment like that, because it's tough. Because like, you know, J.J. Abrams has made enough money and has enough clout to where he could call for Final Cut in his contract. He'll put it in his contract. Zack Snyder, you know, he didn't, because Watchmen, I love that movie, but it didn't make a ton of money. No. And then what was his other one? Sucker Punch also was a bomb. So because of that, they're like, all right, we'll let you direct Superman or Man of Steel or these movies, but you do not get final cut say. And that's a tough to go into when he had such a strong vision.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It really is. And I don't envy the guy for that, because that had to be one of the hardest things to do is be like, I really have this clear picture, but it's like, yeah, but it's their final cut. It's their money that's being spent. It's their everything. It's their franchise. And it's like, so you almost kind of like, well, then why do the job? You know? And it's like, well, because Snyder had enough of a vision where he thought he could excel at this and do well. And it's a bummer it didn't stick with a larger audience, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
And then, of course, you know, with Man of Steel, he had Christopher Nolan on his side.
Right. Sure.
Because, yeah. I mean, when after the Dark Knight trilogy came out, I mean, Warner Brothers wanted, hey, Chris Nolan, can you do that? Can you do that with Superman? And he was like, no, but I know this guy who kind of has, like, he wants to bring Superman down to, you know, down to earth, ground him a little bit. I think you should go with this guy. And then, of course, you know, when it comes to Man of Steel, that's why there's not a Man of Steel director's cut, because Christopher Nolan, I mean, it was basically Christopher Nolan was going, hey, whoa, no, you stay back.
Right.
He's doing his thing. But then he wasn't there for BVS, so BVS got fucked with a little bit. And then, of course, then you don't even, God, I wish I could say what I found out today about.
Right. Don't get yourself in trouble.
I know. But I'm just like, I found out something today that, and I'm just letting everybody know, it's going to come out. We just need more research. I'm not going to just throw it out there like some people do when they hear shit. I found out something today. I was like, what the fuck? But we're going to dig more into it and we're going to get involved. But and maybe I'll tell you off cam, but it was like, what the fuck? Really? Jesus. Like, I couldn't believe it.
It's a bummer because, like I said, I don't know if you saw, I haven't put the video up yet. I wanted to distance my video from when I actually went, but I actually visited DC. The studio or their offices, I should say, at near Warner Brothers, and with my contact, like he was like, hey, do you want to finally come and have lunch and, like, you know, hang out and you can check out the, you know, DC and everything. And I saw Jim Lee, and, you know, it was a dream come true for me, because it's funny. I'm critical of your
pictures. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I put a lot of pictures up, but I didn't put any, like, there's a lot I cannot.
Well, of course, I get
that. Because I saw everything.
Yeah.
But it was still like, I just, you know, I told my friend, I was like, I will never break your, like, the word I give you right now, which is I will never say anything, you know.
Well, tell anybody who contacts me, I'm like, don't worry, man, you're
it's protected, because one, if it's funny too, because some people are like, oh, I like your show, why don't you have more viewers? I'm like, if I just spilled shit all the time, I probably would have more viewers.
Oh, of course.
But I'd rather, like you said, I'd rather have integrity.
That's the thing. That's the thing. That's what I tell people too. It's like when people go like, hey, do you know how the Snyder Cut starts? Yes. Do you know how it ends? Yes. Do you know little things about this? Yes. But I'm not going to fucking say it. I can't. I'm not going to, because first off, the off chance that it comes out, I'm not going to just spoil it for everybody. That's the first thing. And then I was told, hey, keep this to yourself, or this, that, and that. Anything that I'm told to keep to myself, I keep to myself, you know? And, but when it comes to other little things where I'm like, hey, can I say this, or can I hint at it? Sure. Go ahead. You, the runtime, 3.5 hours. I could talk about that kind of. Yeah, go ahead. You know, the anti-life equation was in the movie and nobody knew about it. Oh yeah, go ahead. Say it like this, and then Snyder will respond. You know,
right?
It's I mean, I'm sure you have much more stuff that you've been told, because you're like within it, and I'm like, damn. That's why I always enjoy talking with you, because you know the inner workings. It's nice to have somebody who's knowledgeable with that.
Well, it's a business.
It is a business,
and like any business, there's give and take. There's compromises. There's a lot. You know?
That's one thing. Compromise. I'm glad you brought that up, because I know Snyder has said, like, hey, never compromise this, that, and this.
Sure.
He said that out there, and then his friends go, yeah, he would never do that. He never would compromise. I'm like, yes, he would.
Maybe on small things, but he has to.
Well, no, he did it on a big thing. I mean, he said it at his event where after BVS came out and there was backlash, Warner Brothers said, hey, you fucking rewrite your Justice League story. We don't like this now. And he did. And he admitted that him and Terrio were like, oh, man, we are not confident. Yeah, let's just rewrite this thing. Let's take this out and this out. But even with whatever they, you know, made, they still didn't want to have that. But I mean, there's always going to be compromises. And I got so much flack because I was told by my guy that, hey, the Steppenwolf design got changed very early on. Very early on. Like Snyder went back and forth with the artists and everything to find to land on the design that they have in the movie. and they all came into agreement. But a lot of people are like, no, Snyder would never compromise for that. It was dog shit. I'm like, and then finally he confirmed it on Vera, and I'm like, a year ago, guys, come on.
Right. I mean, yeah, people don't want to hear it. It's like Venom. There was like all these. At first, I remember the first thing that came out about Venom that I knew was BS was they were like, oh, look, it's Tom Hardy wearing like army gear.
Yeah,
are they going to do Agent Venom? And I'm like, I was the only video that went on YouTube and said, guys, it's not Agent Venom. He's hooked up to a harness. They're going to drop him out of a building. They're filming right now in Atlanta. And people are like, how do you know that? And I'm like, well, if you go on Twitter, someone filmed outside their window of their apartment, him being dropped down the day before on a wire, and he's wearing the same harness. I go, it just takes 5 minutes of research. Like,
I remember that when that came out. They're like, oh, are they doing that kind of Venom? Oh my God.
Yeah, right. They're like, he's going to be a soldier. I'm like,
yes.
No, he's going to be a journalist.
So I was like, but yeah, even with me, I was like, that doesn't feel right. Why would they do that Venom when we want the Eddie Brock Venom? We want the reporter Venom where he's, got the voice in his head and he's, and we want it to be that. We don't want,
we don't want to, don't amalgamate, do a bunch of different versions. But I mean, so, being at DC, I mean, it was a dream come true. And it's funny because people, when they hear me criticize like the DC movies, are like, you're just a Marvel fanboy. And I'm like,
no.
I like some of the Marvel characters, sure, or the movies, sure. But I love DC characters more than Marvel, 100 times more than Marvel.
Well, what I've always, talking with you, I mean, you're very critical of the Marvel stuff, big time. I mean,
yeah, if you watched my someone, because I did a countdown to Endgame, I reviewed all the movies. And because I hadn't on the channel. And so I was like, all right, fine, I'll do a review for all the movies. And someone was like, the ball's on you for making Captain Marvel your worst movie. And I go, it was to me. Like, I don't know. What do you want? And the people are like, you're sexist, you're misogynist. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I survived, a couple brain aneurysms now. I've learned to walk and talk again. Yeah. You don't get to define who I am.
No.
I know I'm not sexist. I know I'm not a piece of shit. And I just know that I have certain tastes in movies, and I back up things that I'm critical about. And you don't have to agree with me. That's what I say on my channel. I'm like, it's just my opinion. If you have a different one, comment below and let's continue talking. Like, I like talking to people with opposing opinions, because then you find this middle ground where I think movies stay away from. Movies are constantly going to one extreme or the other. And or they're just okay. And I'm like, no, but there's like this, like for me, for like Superman or something, I'm like, I don't want Superman Returns or even like Richard Donner Superman. I know those don't work nowadays, but I also don't want something like, where Snyder took it, for me personally. But I think there's a middle ground. I think there's one that has the best of both worlds. And people just think that's insanity talk. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just an insane person probably.
See, that's the thing. It's like, and then, if we would have gotten the Justice League we were promised in that 5-part arc that Snyder wanted, you probably, most likely, maybe, who knows, you could have gotten that Superman, that middle ground. And I think that's what Snyder was trying to lead to. He was like, let's put him through the shit first and then get him to that point. Who knows if it would have worked for you, but I think that a lot of people were
try. I mean, I kept seeing the movies. Yeah, so
exactly. And you never know what could have happened. I mean, it is always kind of funny when people go like, well, Superman should be broken down like this. And when they say the description, I even think Nicolas Cage, when he was asked, I think when he was promoting Into the Spideyverse, when they asked him, like, what kind of Superman would you see? He kind of almost pretty much described what Snyder was trying to accomplish, breaking down the character. How would the world react to the character and this, that, and this? I don't know. I think just sometimes, when it comes to Snyder style, some people just have, they don't resonate with him as well as maybe others. I don't know how I think that's maybe how you feel about it. I don't know.
It's hard because I like his movies. Like I loved Watchmen.
Yeah.
I love Dawn of the Dead. I love 300. I even like that Guardian movie he did with the owls. Like I was like, that's kind of cool. And there are parts of Sucker Punch I actually like too. So it's like the guy. It's not that I don't feel what the guy's doing at times, but it's just like I think it's just for me. I think everybody gets Superman wrong. so
dude, like Superman is the most difficult character I think to get on the big screen because he can do everything. And that's why people say Superman's boring. So it's like, well, how do you approach the character? And, do you deconstruct him? Do you just have him be that Boy Scout who rescues kitties from a fucking tree, and
Sure.
says, hey, flying's still the safest way to travel, and does the salute. It's very difficult. I mean, to have a character that is so impervious to everything except for a fucking green rock.
Correct.
How do you make that character relatable? How do you have it resonate with people? It's difficult.
Snyder, I think, had the right idea where, for me at least, I agree on his idea, which was I think everyone focuses on Superman as the alien from another planet.
Yeah.
But to me, as someone who grew up in like a similar environment to Clark Kent, I would say, to me, he embodies the best of what humans could be.
Yep.
Not what the best of Kryptonians can be. So to me, like when you focus on him and like his upbringing and the hard choices he has to make and living with a secret and showing how that eats away at him, but how he just wants to be normal. He just wants to be Ma and Pa Kent's son. It's like all that stuff is in my eyes perfect, because I grew up feeling weird and outcast. And that's the stuff that forged me into the person I am.
Yeah, and I think that resonated with people, even with, Man of Steel, those scenes, where he's trying to deal with the powers, I think when it comes to Man of Steel, those are some of the most powerful scenes, those flashback scenes. And I love the fact that they kind of did like a time jump. Like we didn't see it all in order. We saw it, the spaceship was about to crash down, and then all of a sudden he's grown up, he's on that boat. And, just dealing with the different kind of jobs, even like the scene in the bar scene where it's like, hey, I could totally fuck up this guy for sexually harassing this waitress, but I'm just going to walk away. And of course it got, he ended up fucking up his truck, which I thought was a little cheesy. Don't hate me, guys. Don't hate me, guys. I still love Man of Steel. But I thought, nobody heard that? Nobody heard him fucking lifting up this truck and putting
quietly.
Yeah, it was a little bit of like, hey, wink, wink, don't worry. But when it comes to like, when he's in the classroom as a kid and he's starting to lose his shit because he's like seeing through everybody, and then all of a sudden his mom shows up and he's locked in the closet, that scene will choke me up all the time. Like when his mom goes, just make the world smaller, and because he's like, the world's too big, Mom, and he's like, we'll make it smaller, and then he comes out. Just little things, and that's the thing, and I think that's maybe the stuff that you like too, is just little stuff like that. Even when after Superman in Man of Steel like fights off Zod and all those guys, after the Smallville fight, he goes back home, and his mom just walks up and goes, "Nice suit, son," and gives him a hug. For some reason, that just rips me apart. I just love that little subtle thing, because she's like, "I knew you were going to be this person, and I love you." It's just stuff like that really worked with the movie. But I can understand some of the grievances you have with other aspects of the character in that movie.
But that, you're right, he nailed all that. I think one of my favorite modern day takes on Superman was I really liked Shane Davis's and J. Michael Straczynski's Superman Earth 1.
Okay.
Did you read that one?
I didn't read that one.
So what I like about that one that I was hoping they would do in Man of Steel, but they didn't, which was at the end, Clark just becomes a journalist. And I was like, why? Because I was like, because the comics did it, but what's the real, why did he become a journalist? In Earth 1, they actually explain that, because Earth 1 has a kind of a similar story. It's about a group of aliens that show up. They want to wipe out Earth with a giant machine, and Clark has to fight them as Superman. He comes out as Superman for the first time. What I like about that book is that it's about Clark. The theme of the book is potential. So Clark, coming out of high school and going to college, he went and tried out for the football team. He nailed it. First, of course he nailed it. He's got superpowers. He tried to do something like he did like 7 things, and he did them easily, like flawlessly. Then he was like, so he was just, all right, let's see what kind of career I could go into. How am I going to blend into the world? And he's like doing all these jobs like he was doing in Man of Steel. I'm going to go work on an oil rig. Okay, that didn't work out. I had to save people. I'm going to go work at a bar. That didn't work out because I lost my temper and destroyed a guy's truck. It's like all these things I liked because I thought they were building towards something like Earth 1 was, which was Clark gets to the Daily Planet, and he writes an article about something he saw and turns it in. And Perry White says, this sucks. And Clark's like, what? And he goes, yeah, you suck. You're a sucky writer. And he goes, he said, journalists cannot hold back the truth. They can't hold back anything from themselves and the world. And I feel like you're holding something back, Clark. And until you find a way to release it, you're never going to be a good writer. And Clark left there going, screw him, whatever. I can do a million other things. What do I care? And then as he matures in the story, he realizes, no, I should not do the things that are easy for me. I should do the thing that is actually a challenge. And so he's intrigued by the notion that someone for the first time ever told him he sucked at something. Yeah. And he decided, if I come out as Superman, my secret is no longer being held inside. And now I can write the truth. And that's what he does in that story. And I was like, that is insanely brilliant. And I kept hoping with the Man of Steel, he would just say, like, I picked this job because it's going to be hard as shit, you know?
Yeah, I think, and I remember I did a video right after BVS came out. I did a video because as much as I liked BVS, I still had my issues with it. And I did a whole video of like, okay, this is what the steps I would have taken. And one of the things was show more Clark Kent. Show more Clark Kent doing his thing, trying to be a journalism, trying to be that reporter. And luckily when it came to the Ultimate Edition, they actually did show more of that.
Sure.
I think even with I mean, we got that 3-hour cut, but there's even longer cut that there was out there at one point that even showed more of Clark doing that thing. And I was always a big fan of that. Like, hey, can we see more of that? Can we see more of Clark Kent trying to be Clark Kent? Superman trying to be Clark Kent, trying to be more human, trying to just do that thing, because I mean that's what and I always loved that line at a Kill Bill 2 that Bill said to the bride. It was like, every superhero puts on a mask and be someone else, but when it comes to Superman, his mask is trying to be everybody. Superman is his identity. That's who he is. He puts on a mask to fit in with everybody else. And I always like that, even though like you could probably say like, well, other characters too, they're really who they are when they're in the mask. But I mean, I get that. But at the same time, when he puts on the glasses, that's his mask.
It's funny because I remember that line in that movie, and I was like, oh, yeah. that's a neat comment on Superman. But to me, it was like I didn't agree. I was like, no, I think Clark Kent does have to become Superman. I think he was raised as Clark. Yes, he was raised as Clark with abilities. So he has to hide that for sure underneath. So yes, you can argue one way that it's like, all right, he's to encompass a mask around what he really is. But to me, Clark isn't his powers. Yeah. Clark isn't his alien heritage. Clark is a product of Ma and Pa Kent's upbringing. He's a product of growing up around humans, not Kryptonians. He doesn't even get exposed to his first Kryptonian until, he goes to the Fortress of Solitude and learns about his home planet. And that's early adulthood. So in the comics. So to me, I would argue the opposite. I would say Bruce Wayne, from the moment his parents died, he was no longer Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he was Batman. That's why, like, when it comes to Batman with that line, that's why I was like, yeah. With other ones, it's like, well, Bruce, when he puts on the mask, that's who he actually is. Yeah,
right.
I get what you're saying.
But I'm kind of with you. But I can see both arguments, and I don't. Yeah. One's not more valid than the other. No. I learned that from Greg Rucka like years ago. He was writing Batman, and he was like, what Paul Dini writes with Batman and Harley Quinn doesn't invalidate what I write with Batman and Harley Quinn, because it's each of us telling the story that makes sense for us.
Exactly. Right. And I remember like, especially with Man of Steel, and I remember Comic Book Debate, they did like a whole piece about, the immigrant story of Superman. Like I've always said, I don't necessarily resonate with the whole immigrant side of Superman, because like I said, he came here as a kid and he was raised by Ma and Pa Kent in Kansas. So he was very much that. He didn't know where he came from. He was just hiding a secret. Right. So to me, that doesn't really, but I can understand when people like look at it that way. Oh, he's an immigrant. People don't accept him, this, that, and this. But I'm like, well, but he came here as a kid and he learned the ways, and he was very much a human being with a little bit of a secret. That's it. So I never really took like, yeah, I could see what you were saying over here. But to me, it wasn't like that. I don't know. That's kind of what you're saying. It's like it resonated differently with me. But that's what's so great about these characters is that you can have that. You can have that. You know, you could say like, oh yeah, it resonates with me because I'm an immigrant to America and Superman's an immigrant to Earth. Cool. That's perfectly fine. And even Snyder goes, yeah, 100%. Good job. But there's so many layers, and everybody could just have it differently with every one of these characters, and that's why we love them.
It's these characters don't live for 80 plus years by doing one version. You know, if we told Superman stories the way they were told when they first came out, he wouldn't have lasted 20 years.
Well, like you just said right here in the chat, you love Smallville, and that was a total different departure, man.
Yeah, it wasn't.
With me, I couldn't get into Smallville. I was like, really, Lex Luthor and Clark going to high school? Like, what fuck?
Yeah,
you know, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I loved it because it reminded me of it had a Hamlet and Machiavelli kind of touch to it.
See, the same thing is I can get into Gotham, and some people were like, "Fuck Gotham." That's
I can't get into Gotham,
dude. I love Gotham because I'm a Batman fan, but it totally just wipes out any of the fucking source material, you know, big time. And I'm like, but I love it. So yeah, it's so crazy how it is.
Yeah. I can't get into Gotham, but I love Krypton. We're gonna start watching Krypton, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet either. I'm gonna get into that as well, but that's what's so great. It's like people can take like their different ideas of each one of these stories. Is it always going to resonate with everybody? No. Is it bad? No. It's always great that we can have different voices doing their thing. That's why I always hate it when people just start shitting on every single thing. Oh, that's not what I would have done. I wouldn't have done it like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, of course you wouldn't have, but you know, you got to take it.
No one's giving you $200 million to do your version.
Exactly.
And even if they did, you would make just as many compromises as everybody else has to.
Exactly.
You would not do your version.
I mean, even with like Superman Returns, Bryan Singer was, there's a lot of things where I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. But there's some things in there I'm like, that fucking works, man. Good job with that. The way that you did that plane sequence, my God, that was fucking awesome. That whole plane sequence was pure Superman and pure just awesomeness in my book. But other things, not so much. But I can still enjoy it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, to bring it over to X-Men to wrap it up, I guess. Because I know that's what you wanted me on here for. So I'll say like X-Men is a prime example of like I learned at like early age and throughout my adulthood when people keep coming back to me, they're like, "What's your favorite Marvel comic growing up?" Because we know you love DC, but what's your favorite Marvel comic? I'm like, it's always been X-Men to me, and people are like, why? You're a white guy. What could you possibly understand about X-Men? And I said, well, X-Men was the first comic I saw that portrayed me in it as a kid. And they're like, well, that's impossible. Like, you're a white guy. What do you know about any of this stuff? And I'm like, well, you can keep coming back to that, but if you want to keep having a conversation, I'll tell you. X-Men was the first comic that I saw a child being beaten by their father.
Yeah.
And I was when I was a kid. And I remember reading that and seeing the kid crying and muttering the same words that I muttered, like, what did I do wrong? Why is it happening to me? And granted, in the comic, it was a dad who hated that his son had like green skin and had powers. But for me, it was like I immediately felt ugly and different. And it affected me to a point where I connected with that book so much because I looked beyond just what other people see in it. Like you said, some people look at Superman and go, oh, I like the immigrant stuff, or I like the Jesus imagery, or I like this. It's like all that's there and you can pull from it if you want to tell your version of the character, but don't discredit someone else's version and don't just say, oh, you're a white guy, Seek. What do you know? It's like the message isn't lost on me. Like I connected, like most of my favorite characters growing up were either black or women characters. Like I loved Storm. She's one of my favorite X-Men, So it's like to me, like I love the issue where she fights Cyclops for leadership of the X-Men and she beats his ass and she becomes the leader of the X-Men. I love the story where she falls in love with Forge and he asked her, hey, leave the X-Men with me. And she said, let me have a day to think about it. And then he says, you know what? You're going to just choose the X-Men. I'm gone. And she was actually going to choose him. And I like that because that's kind of in Dark Phoenix when Mystique says, Beast, let's run away together. And he's like, no, let's stay here. And I was like, that's cool. That reminds me of that Storm storyline. So when people like, I hate when people get on it and they're like, oh, your version doesn't work or you can't connect with your version. I'm like, yes, I can. And for that reason, X-Men will always be my favorite Marvel book. And it's been heartbreaking thing these past 3 years not being able to make X-Men content on my channel because I have so much to say about X-Men. And now that Fox doesn't have the rights anymore, I will start making X-Men content.
Good. That's what I hate about the times we are now. It's like, just because you're a white guy, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like. You've had it good. You've had it good, Zeke. What are you talking about? You know, it's always funny. You know, I'll get that too. And then it's funny when I'm like, do you look at my last name? You really think I'm all white? I don't think so. I got a Mexican half family there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the times that it's like everybody goes through struggle. You can't, everybody has their own story, you know, coming up in life, you know, and that's what's so great about these superhero characters, because we can resonate with these characters. Like I said, whether it's the immigrant story or the Jesus-like story or whatever with Superman, when it came to Batman, you know, I think a lot of people just, when you just have something, you know, I don't know, it's hard to explain almost with the way that we all resonate with Batman.
Batman's just effing cool.
He's just so fucking cool. And it's always just like, just to have, I think with Batman, it's just like because he has everything that he needs. You know, he's rich, he's good looking, he gets all the ladies. But at the same time, it's like, when you have all that and you still want to do good, you still want to like clean up a city. I mean, I think that's why people just really, you know, love Batman. I don't know. People probably have all their different reasons why they love Batman. Sure. But there's just so many different things. I think the main reason is just because he has no powers. He's a human being who's just really smart and really badass, like you said. You know,
he where Superman tries to embody the best in what humanity could be.
Yeah,
Bruce has pushed his mind and body to the limits of what humans are capable of.
Exactly.
And who doesn't want to be like that? You know, who doesn't want to have so much willpower to push your body to new limits, and push your mind to new limits, and not be ignorant in situations, and not be stupid in other situations, or not be too weak in a situation.
Always have the answer, you know, and that's what Bruce always has. You know, I mean, that's why I love that. I forgot which story it is, but when which story is it? I mean, there was an animated movie, Justice League Doom, maybe, where basically the whole Justice League is put in the situation that Bruce would have put him in.
Yes.
And Bruce is like, what the fuck? Somebody got my files.
Right.
And basically got, if any one of you motherfuckers were going to turn on me, I would have had you.
Right.
You're using it against you all at once right now, which is such a good fight. Was that Doom?
I think so, because I think isn't that the one at the end where Superman gives Bruce the kryptonite ring back?
Yes.
Yep.
I love that story, because it's the fact of the matter is, it's like the whole time Bruce is going, holy shit. Like, who figured out my secret here? Like, I'm the human being, but I'm smarter than you guys. And if you guys turn, I will own your ass.
Right.
Somebody used that against him. And I'm like, God, that's so good.
That's
so
really
good. That just shows you how Batman is always a step ahead. He's just always a step ahead. And that's why, I mean, I think that's why I love the character. I think we should wrap it up right there, Mr. Seek. And I appreciate you coming on, man. Promote yourself, please.
Well, if you want to hear a little bit more about the differences, at least from the X-Men movies, you can check out my channel. I made a 40-minute video on it if you want to check it out. And if you have questions about it, let me know in the comments, and I'll answer them. Even on this video, I'll check out the comments. Yeah. And I do the Venom vlog, but I just got back from E3 this week. That's right, so if you're a video game fan, I made 20 1 to 2 minute videos. I was trying to test myself. That's what I do a lot on my channel, is I try to change up the type of content I make.
Trial and error, man. You got to do it. You got to do it.
And so on my gaming channel, I put these 15 of 20 of these 2 minute videos that just have me kind of like a man on the street, like, hey, everyone, like Eddie Brock reporting. And I'm like, hey, check out this game I played. Here's some footage. You know, it's just all footage of me at E3.
That's good.
So yeah, check that stuff out. And follow me on Twitter @VenomVlog or on Instagram @VenomVlog.
All right, guys, please follow this guy. I mean, you listen to him. He knows what the fuck he's talking about. He's good. He's a good dude.
Thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm going to talk to the kiddies for about 10 minutes more. So go ahead and just close it out. And yeah, man, I'll talk to you later. I might even let you in on what I heard about the whole Snyder stuff and just certain things. Because it's just like, what the fuck? It's just one of those things I can't say yet.
For sure. Well, I'm sorry it's frustrating you so much.
Huh?
I'm sorry it's frustrating you so much.
I know. It's just, when I heard it today, I was like, wow. wow, really? Like it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, I'll send you a text and I'll tell you. All
Bye,
right.
chat. Bye, Stallone fan, Hardboiled Entertainment, Charles, Soldier Wolf, everybody who said hi to me. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Subscribe, guys.
Bye.
All right, dude. Talk to you later, man. All right. All right. Thank you to Seek for coming on. Love that guy. I'll tell you what. Being in I'm gonna say this is like being in this, like, in this space, in this platform, and just keep on going and making videos and this, that, and this, and then just having people going, hey man, love your content, this, that, and this. I mean, when I went to the Snyder event, it was very surreal when people wanted to take pictures with me and tell me they love my content, all that stuff. But what I also love about this is connecting with people. And Seek is one of those guys where when somebody sent me the video, like, hey man, this guy wants to invite you to the Justice League. It's sad that the first thought is like, because you just get people that are constantly, they might just be like, hey man, I got this idea for that. And you just don't have the time or the patience, or, hey, is this guy really legit? And when it came to Seek, I watched this video that people were sending me where he wanted me to invite me to the Justice League premiere. And as soon as I heard him talk, and just the way that he, presented himself, I went, all right, there's something about this guy that I could see myself getting along with. And ever since then, we've just gotten along. And this is probably I think this is the third time I've had him on this thing. And you guys heard him. Guy's fucking knowledgeable as shit. He knows so much about the movie business, comic books, way more than I do. That's why I always like to have him on. I mean, even though I feel stupid sometimes, I'm like, listening to him talk, and he's so knowledgeable about things. And then I always go like, he's had his problems, health issues. And I always try to encourage the guy. I remember when when the whole YouTube thing where he had like 1,000 subscribers or this many views, and he was going, man, this sucks. And I even had other people go, man, this sucks. I can't even make even just a little bit of money. And I'm like, no, just push through, keep doing your thing. And he kept doing his thing. And it's really good stuff. And you guys should really subscribe to him, because I'm telling you, the guy is knowledgeable. He can articulate what he's talking about. And he's got a passion for all of this shit. So I'm glad that he came on here, talked about Dark Phoenix. It's like, I kept it kind of a secret too. Where I was like, I knew somebody who saw it a year ago. I almost could have saw Dark Phoenix a year ago and saw what was that. But anyways, guys. So yeah, thanks, Zeke. Appreciate it. So I want to talk to you guys for about a little bit more. I think I figured it out, by the way. If you guys heard me, the reason why, and this is good, I'm glad I figured this out, because I think now I can have multiple people on this live stream. I mean, Saturday you were going to have the fucking Trinity with Garza and Colbert on here, talking about shit. The reason why it fucked up was the fact of the matter is because, when somebody comes in and I can't hear their audio, and then I re-click the link, I lose like the head control ability. So I think YouTube goes, nobody's really heading this, so they stop it. I think that's the reason why. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not. Because as soon as I did that, and like within how many minutes of talking to Seek, it cut out, and now it hasn't cut out at all. And it didn't cut out the other times that I've done that. So I think that's Amanda needs to be part of the Trinity. I don't know what happened to her. Sorry, guys. Like I said, texting her earlier, she said she was going to come on, but sadly, she did not make an appearance. My bad, guys. But Dave, would you like to see a remake of Flash Gordon? Absolutely. Flash! Oh! Come on. Somebody needs to redo that song, too. Is this the Italian Job that's playing right now? Yep. Did I mention before I get Showtime for free till September from YouTube TV? They're like, thank you for being a valuable customer. I'm like, yeah, you motherfuckers. You upped my price $15. I'm like, you better give me free Showtime. Michaela. Yeah. Just, yeah. Amanda's Wonder Woman. Dave is Batman. Of course I'm Batman. Even though I have the glasses, I'm still Batman. Yeah, I'll get LASIK eye surgery. I won't have glasses anymore. But yeah, like I said, I'll try to get Amanda to do casual Wonder Woman, but yeah, I don't know. You guys might have to disown her because she didn't show up for this stream tonight. So I'm just hoping that that's the case because it hasn't cut out. I think one of the main reasons is because so if I can't hear somebody's audio, just have them like relog in, give it a minute, and then it should work. Because if I like go into it, it's just not gonna do it. DTV now Dave support what? DTV digital TV? You're talking about that? Hey, look at that! F. Gary Gray directed The Italian Job. Yeah, and he directed MIB International. Jesus Christ, Italian Job, good movie. MIB, I don't know. Anyways, comic book movies should be the only movie to be remakes, remade, reboot, continue. Not necessarily. If you could do a good remake, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing a remake, in my opinion, as long as you could add a different voice to it. You know, don't go all what's his name or whatever director. I forgot who was it who directed the remake of Psycho and wanted to do it frame by frame to the original, except for he added a masturbation scene. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. You know, it's like if you're going to do a Psycho remake, do it from the point of view of somebody else or do it from the point of view of the main character. I don't know. Just, I don't know. People, you got to, King Kong. Yeah. King Kong 2005 was actually really good. I don't know why that didn't, I don't know why people were like, but I'm like, that King Kong was really good. They went to Skull Island, and then it was a long ass movie. I'll give it that, but there's nothing wrong with Peter Jackson's King Kong movie. In fact, I think it's probably a little bit more well done than Skull Island. Skull Island was enjoyable. Gus Van Sant. Gus Van Sant. There's nothing wrong with that movie, in my opinion. Wait. Gus Van Sant. Why was I thinking Gus Van? What? The vodka is really kicking in, guys. But Peter Jackson's. All I'm saying is Peter Jackson's King Kong movie. Not that bad. Not that bad at all. To be honest, I enjoyed the shit out of that movie. So. Oh fuck! Wait, Skull Island is one of my favorites. Hey! I'm just saying, when it comes to a movie, the structure and shit like that, King Kong movie, Peter Jackson's King Kong is a little bit better than Skull Island. Just saying. Hey Dave, I recall the comic book Dave guy left the movement because he hates Ben Shapiro. He even whined about it in the Ringer article. That's not the reason why he left, dude. He left before that. You got to realize, when it comes to who we're talking about, you got to look at the religions. You got his religion and you got Ben Shapiro's religion. There's always this. Okay? When it comes to religion, I don't have a cross in the fight. I don't have holy water in the fight, whatever the hell they do. I'm not a religious person. So if he has a problem with Ben Shapiro because of religion and Ben Shapiro said bad things about his religion, that's on them. I personally don't have a big super problem with Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with everything that he says, especially the religious stuff. I actually get annoyed when he talks about his religious stuff. I like the social stuff when he talks about that. But that's not the reason why. He came back to attack Ben Shapiro? Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, when it comes to who you're talking about, he left because of all the toxic fandom. That's the thing. He was a big voice, but he just didn't really take... It's not like he fully left. He still talks about it. That's why he was part of that Ringer. That's why he was part of that Ringer article. He's still a part of it. He just is not big time into it like he once was. I'm just saying. But it's all, there's a lot of religious aspects to it. I thought it was funny because I knew people were going to lose their shit that Ben Shapiro said release the Snyder Cut. And people did lose their shit. You know me, I'm all about when people lose their shit, I'm there for it. I sit back and I'm like, cheers to that. But that's why I knew that was going to be a shit starter. And I knew he was going to have a problem with it because it's a religious thing. His religion and Ben Shapiro's religion do not get along. They just do not get along. And Ben Shapiro said some bad things about his religion. Yeah, Mr. Whatever, fourth 1000. It was a while ago. He was actually saying it to somebody else. It was a reply to somebody else. But of course, everybody saw it. And I saw it too, and I retweeted it. I forgot. It was a couple months ago. And he just flat out said, release the Snyder Cut. But Ben Shapiro has like 2 million followers. So I went, holy shit, somebody with 2 million followers said release the Snyder Cut. I don't care what the fuck their background is. That's a lot of exposure. That was my whole thing. Exactly. And you're right, Eric. That's why I was all about it. But I knew it was going to start a shitstorm, so I laughed. And I'm like, oh my God. Because a lot of people think like Ben Shapiro is a Nazi when that doesn't make any sense because he's Jewish. He wears a fucking yarmulke. I don't think the man's a Nazi. There's a lot of people just think, oh, he's a racist, he's a bigot. I'm like, no, he's not that either. But, he's had some strong feelings about the Muslim community. He really has. And when it comes to religious stuff, I don't agree with pretty much everything he says about it. I turn it. I'm like, when he starts going religious talk and saying this, that, and this about the way people should be and the morals and stuff, I'm like, no, I don't agree with you. Sorry. But I don't go, fuck Ben Shapiro, because I agree with him on a lot of social stuff. I love his tagline, facts don't care about your feelings. I love that. Captain Marvel or MIB International? Probably MIB International. Captain Marvel. Ugh. At least MIB International had some recognizable stuff, and it had Liam Neeson in it. And it also had Rebecca Ferguson, which I totally forgot that Rebecca Ferguson was in MIB International. So that was a pleasant surprise. Of course, they used her in a way that I was like, damn it. Because Rebecca Ferguson, she is so goddamn hot. I was watching Rogue Nation yesterday, too. It was on FX. That woman is so goddamn sexy and badass. I'm like, God, bring me some more Rebecca Ferguson, please. Poor Tom Hanks. Yeah, rest in peace, Tom Hanks. He's always dying. Yep, I heard about Ray Fisher. I'll probably do a short video about it tomorrow. Because I know he mentioned the Snyder Cut at that event and everything. I just didn't get around to it today, but I'll probably do a video about it. Ray Fisher is all about it, man. Ray Fisher is all about it. Yeah, he basically wants the Snyder Cut. He mentioned he was asked about Snyder Cut, and yeah, he was all about having it released and saying that him being Cyborg has not ended yet. Rebecca Ferguson is hot girl. I could see her more being Catwoman than hot girl, to be honest. Sexiest women in Hollywood. Well, Rebecca Ferguson's up there. I would say Margot Robbie, of course. Gal Gadot, even too, man. It's just, yeesh. I don't know. I like I don't know. Again, when it comes to like you guys, like, what's your top 5? I get flabbergasted, and I'm like, I don't know. So I can't really tell you. Oh, Danielle Guerrero. Oh my God, man, that woman is goddamn hot. Whew. I know some people want her as Catwoman, and I'm like, yeah, but she's already in Doom Patrol, And I'm like, she's already a DC character, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, I get it. She's like this little petite, sexy fucking Latina. Oof. Yeah, Vanessa Hudgens, same thing, man. Just these little sexy. Ugh. Whoa. All right. Jesus. All right, Michele. We'll talk soon. All right, man. And I think I'm actually going to end this too, man, because I mean, I've gone like 2 hours, I think, mixed in with the last one. Yeah, we've gone pretty long here. Yeah, I've gone over 2 hours, 2.5 almost, it seems. So here we go, guys. This is it. This is it. What are your thoughts on CBM cringe? Sometimes, most of the time, I like what that whoever's handling that website is good, but sometimes, a little bit too much. But I like them mostly. All right, guys. Appreciate clicking in. Go get some sleep. It's been great. And thank you for Seek for coming on. That's always good. I always love when people come on. And yeah, cheers, guys. Good stuff. All right. Talk to you later.